Welcome to On Cue. I'm your host, Eric Olson. County fairs are a great tradition in our region. Today, we learn about the history of the Mower County Fair with John Mueller. Gareth Hataye is here to tell us about the installation of a new mountain bike course at Todd Park in Austin. And Laura Helly unveils the latest project for the Downtown A Destination Committee. Stay with us. On Cue is next.
From KSMQ Television in Austin, this is On Cue, connecting interesting issues and interesting people. On Cue.
The county fair is a week full of activities, food, my favorites, Pronto Pups, corn dogs, cheese curds, something like that. I suppose everybody has a favorite food, and great entertainment at the county fair also. Joining me today, John Mueller, president of the Mower County Fair Board. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Eric.
This history of the fairs, we just go and let the kids loose there and have fun, but it's really part of the culture of not only Mower County, but every county. Where does this trace back to?
Well, if you think back 2 years ago, people lived miles apart from each other. So they'd get together one time a year, and that became the county fair. And they would decide who has the best pies, who has the best pigs, who has the best horses. It became a competition. And from that, it also became a large social event. That's the one time you got to see all your neighbors.
I'll be darned. So that's where, because of the distance, it was a chance for farmers, mostly agricultural folks, to get together.
Correct. That formed eventually into your agricultural societies where they got organized. And we have the Mower County Ag Society, and much larger than that, the Minnesota Agricultural Society.
And is that for like actually learning about crops or for sharing information with farmers?
Ag Society in general, the mission would be to preserve our traditions, our teachings, our education, and so on, and then to not only preserve them in the history that they are, but then to teach them to our younger generations and help those traditions be carried on.
Like groups too, like 4-H?
Absolutely, 4-H, FFA. There are many groups that are involved in it, and again, it's taking the history, the education, the agriculture. Austin, Mower County, and really all of Minnesota are very agriculturally related, so it's important to us as an ag society to preserve the tradition, the things we've learned, and pass those on to future generations, such as 4-H and FFA kids.
It's fun in the barns when you go there. At least for me, it's especially fun to see the young, usually children of the farm adult, going through, maybe it's their first time in a show showing an animal, and you know, it's a lot of work, and you get to see the dedication. You can see it on their faces when they're going through their paces.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'd kind of started off saying about, you know, we just show up at the fair. And these kids, they're out there working on these things typically from January all the way up to fair time in August for us here in Mower County, and then hoping to get the reward of a trip to the Minnesota State Fair with their project, both livestock and non-livestock. And I think that's important. As many livestock shows as there are at the fair, there's also a lot of non-livestock events, whether it's growing corn stalks, flowers, gardening, baking, making clothing. There's much more than photography. Is a huge one, area. Actually. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's much more than just animals. It is many things that all have their roots in agriculture.
We talked a little bit about the early days of the farming of the fair. When did it start in Mower County?
The Mower County Fair started in about 1884. It actually started in Lansing Township. They tried it a couple of times up there, and again, you got to think back then we didn't have the population areas that we do now. That was probably one of the more populated areas in Mower County, but they just didn't quite get the participation that they were hoping for. So after a couple of tries there, they moved it into Austin. I believe it was down around what was then, I believe, the Austin Horace Park, now around where the municipal pool is, down in that area. They did it once, it didn't go real well. They decided not to do it again. Then they were going to do it. Then the fair books, the premium guides, which are very important at the state level, the premium guides actually burned up before they could get distributed. They burned up in the printing factory. So they canceled the fair altogether. So it was off to kind of a bumpy start for a few years. Eventually they bought the current location, 40 acres out there, was called the Austin Driving Range. And that's where they would actually run their horses and do those sorts of things on the old half-mile racetrack, in fact. And the Ag Society purchased that 40 acres, moved the fair out there, and they've been running strong ever since.
Since about when have you been
Be about
there?
1886, 1887,
At at our location?
Yes, yep, they bought the land out there, the 40 acres, and they've just been running strong since. We actually celebrated, I think it was the 130th fair a couple years ago. And like you say, you got to take out that 1 year for the glitch where they didn't have one, but it's got some very interesting history.
Is there a relationship also between, I've done stories, produced stories in western Minnesota and a little bit in central on threshing shows, you know, machine shows where they demonstrate the old time farm machinery and lumber mills with the old big blades. You still see some of those shows. Was that an offshoot of fairs?
I don't know if it was an offshoot or just more of a competition in itself when it came to harvest time. And I got to tell you, the folks down at the Historical Society here in Mower County, we're all housed on the same grounds. Actually, you'll find them on the Mower County Fairgrounds also. And they do a great job preserving that history and showing those pieces of equipment, and they do some demonstrations down there. So, I mean, it's something where you can really go in and see really how far agriculture and agricultural machinery and techniques have advanced.
And the amateur radio guys are there, folks
Absolutely.
are there.
Yep.
The phones and stuff, you can go in and see all that stuff.
Yep, and they're open year-round actually down there, so I think that's something that's certainly worth looking at anytime.
What, in your industry, the fairs and industry, what are the key components of a modern fair these days?
Well, again, in our area in particular, I think the baseline is agriculture. Again, you know, things started with those agricultural competitions and so on, have now developed into so much more. Obviously, there is the livestock shows, the non-livestock shows. Carnivals are a huge part of it. And Austin itself, I should tell you, has a really rich history in carnival business. There was the Butler family from Austin here that started what is now the largest carnival on the West Coast. They used to own a little store in Austin here called Bud and Bob's, and they went off with, they followed Miriam's for a few years doing just games. Then they bought a tilt-a-whirl, so then Miriam said, well, you can't be with us now because you got rides too. And they went to California, and now they can run 2 state fairs at one time. And that all started in Austin. We have the Nelsons family. They're over on the East Coast in Florida running carnivals. So there is really a rich history of carnival and fairs here in Austin and Mower County.
And when you say carnival, you mean like midway, like the
carnival
rides
would be
and
your rides
stuff?
and games, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's, you see some local food purveyors booths, and then you see some that look like they travel with the fair, with
Correct.
the rides.
Yep,
Is that
there are
right?
a lot of independents, and those are the folks that come in and apply to be at our fair or at other local fairs, county fairs, state fairs, festivals, those types of things. In fact, again, a little bit on the history side, if you used the term earlier, corn dog and Prono pup, and I'll leave it to everybody to decide which term they want to use, but there is a stand at the Mower County Fair that is one of the last remaining stick stands, meaning it's not in a trailer, it's actually a wooden stick stand that they put up with an awning and a tarp over the top, and they sell Prono pups, not corn dogs.
Okay, there's a difference,
There
folks.
is. The mini donuts, you know, the pizza, I mean, there's just so much there that are the traditional mainstays, but you always get the new and innovative vendor that comes along, and they might deep fry green tomatoes or alligators.
The flavored brats too.
Flavored
all
brats,
the different
yep, stuffed
flavors of
bratwurst.
brats.
That's a Minnesota product, actually. That vendor is a Minnesota vendor.
And relationship to the Minnesota State Fair, are you part of the State Fair?
No county fair is directly a part of it. We are all members of the Minnesota Federation of County Fairs, as well as the International Association of Fairs and Expositions, which is a much larger, obviously international organization. Here in Mower County in Minnesota, we are part of what's called Zone 4 of the IAFE, and we're involved in that organization. I've sat on a couple of panels for them for entertainment and stuff. So we do get together a couple times a year, both internationally and statewide, and share information, share ideas, what worked, what didn't work, where we've been and where we're going.
And a lot of the winners from Mower County go to the state fair in their categories, right?
Absolutely.
You're hooked up there.
Absolutely. Particularly, going back to the 4-H and the FFA and so on, that's these kids' goal is to earn a trip, and it is earn a trip to the Minnesota State Fair. And the Minnesota State Fair is, I think, #1 for attendance in the nation for a 12-day festival.
Wonderful. What a great history. You're a great history person, being born and raised in Austin, and gave us a lot of insight here.
Something about the fair gets in your blood, and I guess growing up not too far from the fairgrounds and being, as a 10-year-old, I was what's deemed a barn rat, meaning I went to the barns and that's pretty much where I hung out. I have a great appreciation for the fair, for the Ag Society, and for the rich history that we have at the Mower County Fair.
Thanks so much, John Mueller, President, Mower County Fair Board.
Thank you.
Good to see you here. Stay with us. Gareth Hataye is up next to tell us more about the mountain bike course at Todd Park in Austin.
More information about the Mower County Fair is available at mowercountyfair.com.
You can watch On Cue anytime by visiting the KSMQ TV website, ksmq.org.
And welcome back to On Cue. I'm Eric Olson. Time now for a revisit of the Austin cycling scene, and especially as it relates to the high school, Austin High School, middle school, the new cycling team and program there. Joining us, Gareth Hataye, volunteer, leader of the team. Welcome.
All right, thank you.
And if you know, maybe you know or don't know, that a course for mountain biking, is that what I call it, mountain biking?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Competitive mountain biking, maybe.
Right.
Is being constructed near Todd Park.
That's correct.
In Austin for the second season of Austin High School mountain biking.
That's correct.
So what's it's been a lot of fun, I suppose, building something from scratch.
It has. It's been a lot of hard work. Mosquitoes have been terrible this year, and we've had to do a lot of chainsaw work because of a lot of trees down from the tornado from the past.
Okay, because we're talking about land adjacent to or across the street from Todd Park, which is Hormel Foods.
Correct.
Property, and there's a walking trail through there now. You may be familiar with that area. So there's been a lot of work. It's wonderful to have that opportunity to be there, but it's been some work too, working with the company and others, I suppose, as a volunteer.
That's correct. You know, it's been a process, many months in the making right now. Very thankful to Hormel Foods for allowing us the opportunity to build this course on their property. It's a pretty area flowing along the Cedar River, and we didn't think there was going to be a lot of structure because we live in such a flat area, but it'll be fun.
Did you build a structure like hills or something, or what did you need?
You know, we're taking advantage of a lot of the natural terrain, so any hill or bump that we can find, we'll try to use. And you know, it's not your downhill mountain biking that everybody pictures. It's more cross-country or single track. And there are technical features which can be quite windy and taking a little more skill in really riding through that area adeptly. But a lot of it will be flowing, and so you can gain some speed and really flow through a lot of the trail as well.
And you have a view of kind of a high view of it and rendition.
I do.
That we're looking at. Are there certain points or number of turns that you had to build in to make it competitive to the standards of the state organization?
Right.
Talk a little bit
Yeah.
about the course.
Yeah, so the state league has some guidelines in place in what they would like out of a mountain bike venue. One being the length being about 3.5 to 4 miles long. It has areas that are single track, so really room for just one bicycle. Areas where there's passing lanes, and so faster riders are able to easily and safely pass other riders. We want it to be challenging enough for most riders, but yet accommodating for the beginning rider as well.
Okay. And this is ready to go, but it's for teams only. Can anybody go there and like use it, or how does it?
Yeah, that would be our hope, that it would be open to the public at some point, but at this point it will be open for riders on the cycling team, the high school team, and also for the Southern Minnesota Bike Club. Members of that organization will be able to ride it as well.
Because this is a big deal for Austin, that in just the second year, your team is going to host a race.
It is. It's been a process of developing this trail and using it as a venue for the state's races. We're slated for number 2, so September 20th of this year, and we're having a lot of fun with it. The challenge is trying to complete it in time with a very short timeline. But this year we expect 700 to 750 athletes racing on September 20th.
Oh my goodness. And that's a dream come true for your team and for the founder, Dick Schindler, who
Yes.
passed away, as many of our viewers know.
Dick's always been a lifelong advocate of cycling, road cycling, mountain biking, you name it. And so he decided that he really thought that Austin should have a mountain biking team, even though we didn't have the hills to support it. And so he got that up and running last year, along with myself and Coach Spencer. And unfortunately, he lost his life last
Right.
year. And so as kind of a tribute, there's a few individuals who thought that building a trail here and holding one of the state's races would be, a great tribute to him.
Oh, how wonderful for you. And he sat in that very chair talking about the team
Right, okay.
and promoting it. So it's wonderful to see the community rally round and get it up and running. So the public will be able to attend?
Yes.
Or do people stand along a bike route like they do where you see on TV, that kind of thing?
Right. So part of the trail will be in the woods, and so that will be difficult to see, but along the paved bike trail, and the start-finish area is going to be in an open field, which will allow great visibility for all of the cyclists.
And are you, when you start a new sport, especially in a school age, it's a challenge, can be a challenge, I would imagine, to get the word out, to get young people to want to try out or be on
Right.
it. And, the first year was kind of a growth year. Are you getting some participation, a little more? What are you seeing?
Yeah, we are. In year 1, we had 9 cyclists, and they had so much fun that a lot of their classmates and friends decided that they didn't want to miss out on the fun this year. And so we've just about doubled.
My goodness. And is it, can people watching this, if their child or maybe the students watching, is there room for more people, or is it pretty much closed up?
No, it's open, the more the merrier.
And if they want to become part of the team, what do they do?
They can either contact myself or they can contact Spencer.
Okay, through the high school? Is this a high school event?
It's set up as a club sport currently, and so we are organized through Austin Park and Rec, which allows us to really allow any student countywide to participate.
Oh, okay, so they can maybe call Park and Rec and get
Sure.
information on how to reach you.
That'd be great.
That way, that'd be easier,
That would be.
I suppose. Okay, so well, congratulations on this wonderful feat. Have you been in the woods? Are you a expert now at using chainsaws and so on?
Well, more so right now. We've
Oh.
put many hours in. And so a lot of chainsaw work and really roughing out the course right now. So we're in the process of finishing it.
And how many folks are working on this project?
You know, in work sessions, we might have a dozen or so at a time, but you know, we could always use more volunteers.
Okay. Is there a website, or again, do they, if somebody wants to help out, do they contact the Park and Rec Department for schedule?
Yeah, you know, they can do that, or they can contact the Southern Minnesota Bike Club. We have a Facebook page for that.
Okay.
Or they can stop in at Ride Your Bike and ask, and they should be able to direct them in the right direction.
That's great, and a good tribute to Dick, too, to come out and clear a little brush or something like that for the
Right.
good of the organization.
You bet.
Well, Gareth, Hataye, thank you so much. This has been a fun discussion. Look forward to the race and the season to come. It'll be fun.
We are. It will be.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we will be right back with our weekly Vision 2020 segment. Stay with us.
Queue up your own comments for On Cue and send them to us at onq@ksmq.org. On Cue's Vision 2020 segment is brought to you by Hormel Foundation, Games People Play, and Turtle Creek Estates.
Welcome back to On Cue, our Vision 2020 update now with Laura Helly, Director of Vision Creation. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And this is going to be fun because if you are in Austin, you might think you know people in town and you know how they act and how they behave, but there's a video now that you might be kind of surprised.
Yeah, we created a downtown Austin promotional video, and it's about 3 minutes long, and it's set to the theme music of downtown, the classic Petula Clark song from the 60s, and all kinds of local folks that you know are in it singing and dancing along to the downtown music.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at it, see how many people you know. how about that? You made a cameo in there too.
Yes, I was in there toward the end, so you have to watch carefully.
Right, and you can see it on the Vision 2020 YouTube channel? Or
Yes,
what?
and on the Facebook page for both Vision 2020 and Downtown Austin, Minnesota.
So like those, and then the video will be posted on there, and you can share it, show all your friends. What kind of crazy people live in Austin?
Absolutely.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
That'll do it for our show this week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Cue.
On Cue is a production of KSMQ Television in Austin, nonprofit public television.
You can access more information about KSMQ on Facebook and at ksmq.org.